Hey everyone, welcome to the Visualizing Financial Data using Quandl Lesson 2. So I've got the article here behind me. This is the second one that I published that came out yesterday, and for those of you who were able to see that, if not, it's in the first lessons link in the commentary section, but it's also a standalone article. And again, I go through a step-by-step section of different areas that you can use in QlikView to just make the front-end design look a little bit better than what you get currently. So what we've got at the moment is the app was left looking like this. You can rearrange and move things around, but I thought, well, we should look at how we would actually build a dashboard out of this. So if we just go back to what's on the article, the first thing that we did over here was actually put a banner in over at the top. And so to do that, we're actually going to use a text object. So what I'll do is I'll just move these ones down. So just highlight them and then just drag them down. And what we're going to do is right click, go into a new sheet object and go to text object. And then in the text object, I want that to be dynamic. And by dynamic, I want it to actually have the ticker that's in there. So the ticker is the company identifier. In this case, they use ticker for stock. So we'll have the ticker whenever it is selected and put the word analysis afterwards. So this is similar to other tools where you just put the ampersand symbol and then some way of putting in text. It's single quotation marks per click. What we want to do as well is actually have the background color. Let's just open up on another screen. I want the background color a little bit darker. So I've already got preset colors there. So just to go back so you can see I've got all my preset colors here. So if you want to make changes, you can just change, do the RGB or whatever it is, and then just click add to custom colors and that comes through. Okay, so actually I don't want that one, I want the dark blue. Click OK. And so that's there, but if I put dark blue and the text default, which is black, it's not going to come up. So I want to change the text default to white. So I'll just do that now. Okay, so there's the text object header that we want at the top. I'll have to change, I can change the alignment there, I can change the size. We'll play around with the size and put this to the left. So that's just easy enough. You can go to the horizontal alignment and go left and then change the font. So I'll change that to say 20. There we go. Okay, so that is our header. And we're going to do stuff with the filters. That was what was next on the agenda. So if we just scroll down, so after we've done that first part there, we want to actually change the filters to be these drop downs, and there's a trick in QlikView on how to do that. So I'll show you guys how to do that now. And what we want to do is go back to the page here. I want to get rid of these filters. What I want to bring in is actually a multi-box. So over here, multi-box. Now with these, you can actually have them so that they are one below the other, but what we want to do, what's important to us, is actually having them as single objects, single selectable objects, and I'll show you why. So if we do the first one, which is ticker, and then we can actually copy that down. So I'll choose that one, I'll go into presentation, and what we want to do here is change it to a grid style, and I'll show you why, because that'll put it above one another. And then we want to get rid of the caption here as well. So if we do that in layout, we should have a border. Border width is already set to 1, that's fine. So I want it like that. So I can click and drag this across to the side. We'll change the width of that. And what this does is that as I click down, it gives us a drop down. So I can select different tickers in this case. We'll try another ticker, so HD, which is Home Depot. So that information comes through there. And then what we can do with that is we can Control-C, copy that, paste it, and then to drag it down like that without using the mouse so that it is precise, I hold down Control-Shift and the arrow keys. And so I'll make another copy, paste it, drag it down, make another copy, paste it, drag it down. So in the article, we did a couple of filters. We did the ticker, the name, industry, sector, and another industry one there because there's different levels of industry. So I'll put in the name. We won't do all of these ones here, but we'll just do 4 of them. So we'll go name, add that, remove the ticker. So name now comes through. we'll put in the pharma industry, FAMA industry. So we'll remove the ticker. And then last but not least, we'll put in sector. Oh, that's the sheet properties, so you have to make sure that you click on the actual object. So we'll remove ticker, and we'll put in sector when we actually get to that, down here, sector. Okay, so there's our filters. One of the next things that we did is to actually put a oh no, we didn't do that. Well, I'll do that now. It's further down here in the design, where we actually put in a line in between the charts. So where is it? Okay, I thought we did. Anyways, it is somewhere in the article, but what I wanted to do was insert an object. So I'll go right click, new object, and I want to put in a line. You can do arrows, but lines are quite useful, and what we want is this one to be vertical. Now if I just do that on its own, it's just going to look like that. So we want to actually minimize that down as small as we can, and then we want it going down the page. So this is going to be a divider, and you can play around with where it actually goes on the page. So this can divide between the left hand side of your page to be the filters and the right hand side to be where you put your sheet objects. Okay, but to make it blend in with the background, so whatever background you've got, the default on Click is this kind of grayish looking one. We can change it so that the background color, instead of it being white and contrasting, we can either increase the transparency or actually match the background color that's behind there, but we'll just do increased transparency, and so it's like that. You can also make the line object thicker in terms of the weight or the width. They've called it line weight over here. So by doing that, now we've got a distinct section between our filters and our sheet objects. Okay, so what we then did was we actually made each of the charts, we made them to be, instead of based on a selection where we had to pick the description of the indicator each time, we can actually set that. And the way that we do that with ClickView is using something called set analysis. And so what we want to do is actually put in a label here. I could have made this label a little bit more dynamic, but because we want it to change we don't want it to change over time, so I'll put in here return over invested capital. So once I've got that there, the way that you do set analysis, so average data is the measure that we want to be using, but set analysis, we actually want to put in these squiggly brackets, and then there's the less than symbol, then the greater than symbol, and then we want to put in the indicator. So that's the field that we're going to do the set analysis on. So it's a filter that's just set to only the selection that we make within the indicator field. In this case, in the indicator field, ROIC is the field that we want it to be set on. So no matter what selections are made in other areas, it is ROIC that is selected here. So if I do that, it changes it now to show return over invested capital, and it's showing just return over invested capital for, in this case, it's Home Depot. Now, so to continue on, if we're going to put a legend at the bottom, what we want to do is a little trick where we actually copy the existing expression there, because Click, like I said, it only puts a legend when you've got more than two expressions there. But because it's the same one, we don't want to show that one, so we make that one invisible. If we hit apply, what you can see there is that it actually scales things down, and the reason for that is that we need to actually go to the axes and go to this section here where it's split axis. So we turn that on. When we hit apply, we can see that return over invested capital is shown there as a legend, even though you've only got one expression. So what we could do is just make that shorter. We just go ROIC. Finance professionals or those that are interested in the markets will know that what that means. So it does put it over there to the side. One thing that you could do is actually put it towards the bottom, and the way that we do that, I'll just show you here. We can drag this down, and you can see there that it puts it at the bottom. You can do some other things. The way that I do that is I hold Control and Shift, and I can move things up and down. When you move the mouse over the chart, you can click on these elements here and move them up and down. So actually, let's just do that again. Okay, probably a little bit too far. But yeah, you can play around with that and see how you go there. And the other thing we want to do is just remove, just going back to it, let's remove the caption. We don't want to show that. Happy to have the border there, and there you go, there's a chart. So you can move that to the top of the page, wherever it is that you want to display that. The way that I've got it on my example here, so let's have a look. We scroll down, so I've done return on investor capital, return on average equity, return on average assets, and return on sales. So you can simply copy one of these charts here, Control C, Control V, hold down Control Shift as a button. The reason to do that is just so that we can kind of move it across the page and it's going to be in line. You can click the mouse and drag it around, but it's going to be a lot easier if you actually just do the Control Shift and move around on the page. So this one, for example, this one can be a return on assets, so return on average assets. The way that we would change that, we go ROA, we can give the label a change as well. Now it's a good idea as well for the invisible here, as you can see, the invisible second element, also to give it, make sure that you're using the same expression there, because if you don't, and one's on one scale and the other one is on a very different scale, you're going to get your charts looking distorted. So that'll look a little bit funny. So you can bring those two in there, you can add more, and let's go to the next part of what we did. So the other part we did is bringing in a share price chart. So the way that we do that, I'll just copy this sheet, and what we'll do is delete these. And you can give these sheets names if you want, we'll just leave those for now. So in this middle section here, we want to bring in another chart, and that other chart is going to be a combination chart, because we're going to have bar charts as well as the time series chart. Now in this case, the date field that we're going to use is just the one called date. There are two different date fields being used here. We're not harmonizing that by using a master calendar, which is what Click allows you to do. So we will have to select different date fields, but that's okay for now. So for the share price data, the field that we're going to use, let's just go back to what we had here in the LinkedIn article. So it's close and volume, those are the expressions. So for us to be able to do this, we've selected the date, and now we've got this screen here where we can build the rest of the chart. So the next thing is going to be the expressions. So average close, let's just make sure that we got that right. So it is average close. We click OK on that, click on next. We haven't given that a label, but we can go back and do that. Click on next. We don't want to change anything in here. Presentation is that's fine. And what we want to make sure that we do here is, again, enable the grid, just so it's easier to see. And we can put the width on. You don't have to put these things on, I just like it for the way that I do things in terms of the view. And we want to make sure that we have continuous on the date labels. And just going back to lesson 1, the continuous part that you put in there, the reason for that is that so that it fills in any blanks where there might not be data, and you might have some sparse data or something. I want to use that main blue color again. Click OK. Click on next. With this continuous axis, we want to make sure that it defaults to a date field, and there's the default pattern. You can change that. It doesn't have to be days, months, and years. It could be month, day, years, or the other way around. And then again, we can play around with the font if we need to. We can put something in terms of the layout. We can change that. There are various options there. ClickView is really good at having a lot of options. And then again, I'm going to turn off the show caption. So okay, so that's got no data to display. Let's just go back and see what's going on there. I think it's because this needs to be lowercase. There we go. Okay, so what's happening there is that it's filling it in as a bar. We want that as a line, so we change it to line. And just going back to that change that I just made, I brought in the date was okay, and it was just that close was lowercase c instead of capital. So just got to be careful with that. That might look right. Seems like it reads it there in terms of the code, says that it's okay. But if you do that, you're going to get the wrong information coming through, or not even coming through at this stage. So that's one. The other part that we want to do, we want to give this a label, call that close, add in another expression. And what we want to do with this is we want to bring in volumes. We're going to bring in volumes as a bar chart, so just do average. They are lowercase, so we'll bring in volume like that. And then we want to type that in as volume for the label, and then change it to a bar. And over here in terms of colors, the second color that we want coming through, I'll change that to the orange that was shown in the LinkedIn article. Okay, now the other part here is that because we haven't split the axes, you can see here, because volumes are whole numbers, whereas the share price in this case for Home Depot is just in the dollars, it's going to distort things. So what we want to do is go to the axis area, and over here, the second axis, this volume one, we're going to put this on the right. Okay, and then the other part is, let's expand that. So you can have it as is there. You can move this legend off to the side, you can bring that down, bring it down to the bottom. And now you have an interactive chart where I can make a selection, zoom in on different periods, and you can move on from there. Okay, so the last part that we're going to look at, so now that we've done that interactive chart, we are completely finished. Okay, so what we have done basically is we've cleaned up a few things. We've moved them into different sections on the ClickView chart, sorry, the ClickView canvas. We've gone through most of these elements that are in here. There was some that we skipped, so we didn't make all 4 charts, but we did quite a few of those. And yeah, we just showed you how ClickView can be really useful for things like Quandl or the Share Radar data set. And if you've got information like this that is time series related, ClickView is really good at doing stuff there. We can look at other things like correlations, regression analysis, some more advanced analytics. So there's a lot that you can do, especially in the finance space with this type of data. So if you need any help on this, please shout out for any kind of ideas. Okay, in the meantime, have a good day.